My father was never the kind of man who spoke much about his struggles. He carried the weight of his world insolence, his tired eyes revealing more than his words ever could. Growing up, I saw him as a pillar, strong, unshakable, always knowing what to do. But Haim has a way of changing things and who once carried me on his shoulders now seemed burdened by something invisible yet. Heavy started subtly, a distant look. During dinner, a sigh that seemed too deep for something trivial. At first I thought, it was just Didge creeping in, but it wasn't. There was something else, something gnawing at him. It wasn't until one evening as we sat in the dim glow of the living room lamp that I saw it. He held an old measuring tape, staring at a wooden beam in the corner of the house. His fingers traced, the surface lost in thought. Everything okay? Daddy hesitated before looking at me, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach. His eyes just thinking about some repairs, he murmured. But I knew better. There was more to it. I didn't press him. But that night I found myself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what was really going on. My father was not the type to dwell on things unless they truly mattered, and this, whatever it was weighing on him the next day. I paid close attention. He seemed preoccupied, running his hands over the same wooden beam, measuring it, then sighing as he put the tape away. It was 12 and exactly made no sense. To me, why was he so fixated on something so small? I decided to ask Mom. She always had a way of knowing things without being told when I brought it up. Her expression softened. It's not about the beam. She said that piece of wood. It's the last thing he built with his father. They worked on it together before he passed. Your dad was supposed to finish the job, but life got in the way. And now I think he feels like he let him down suddenly. It all made sense. That puffin piece of wood wasn't just wood. It was our reminder, a silent weight my father had carried for years. It wasn't just about fixing something in the house, it was about fixing something in his heart. That night I sat with him again till I said. He looked at me surprised. What about Grandpa, about this beam? About why it matters. For the first time in years, my father's tough exterior cracked. He exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of unspoken words, and then he began to talk. He ran his fingers over the wood ash, spoke, his voice quieter than usual. Our grandfather was a builder, not just of homes, but of moments. He believed everything had meaning if you built it with purpose. This beam, it was supposed to be part of a bookshelf for his study. We started it together, but then life got busy. I told him we'd finish it later. He paused, his fingers tightening slightly. Later never came. There was a weight in his words that I had never heard before. Regret, not just for the unfinished project, but for the time lost, for the things left unsaid. It hit me. Then this wasn't about wood at all. It was about closure. I wanted to help, but I knew offering quick solutions wouldn't do any good. He didn't need a fix. He needed to face it. Let's finish it, I said. He looked at me surprised. After all this time? Yeah, you said everything has meaning if built with purpose. Soul aids give it one for the first time. Anna. While I saw something shift in his expression, relief, maybe even hope, was spent the next few days gathering what we needed. The old wood was still sturdy, but the edges were rough-aged by years of waiting. As we worked side by side, something changed. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was comfortable, filled with the soft rhythm of sanding and the scent of sawdust. Then something unexpected happened as we measured and cut. My father started telling stories, not just about the beam, but about my grandfather, little things, like how he always whistled while he worked, or how he believed that no mistake was ever final. Only Allison, these were pieces of a man I had never truly known, coming to life through my father's words. I listened not just to the stories, but to the way my father spoke about him. There was love in his voice, admiration, and a longing I hadn't noticed before. He wasn't just building a bookshelf. He was rebuilding a connection, one he thought had been lost with time. He spoke the more I realized something. Else this wasn't just for him. It was for me. In finishing what my grandfather started, my father was passing down something greater than a sill. He was passing down a piece of himself, a piece of his love. And for the first time, I truly understood what it meant to build something with purpose as we worked. I noticed something shift in my father. The tension in his shoulders seized his movements, became more fluid, and for the first time in years, he looked at peace. It was as if, with every cut and every nail, he was letting go of something heavy. Then in the middle of measuring a final piece, he paused, his hands rested on the wood, and he let out a quiet laugh. "You know," he said, "this isn't the first time I've done this for love." I glanced at him, curious. "What do you mean?" He wiped his hands on a rag and leaned against the workbench. "Your mother," he said, a small smile playing on his lips when I met her. I had nothing, no money, no real plan, just a dream of building things. That mattered. I wanted to give her the world. But all I had were my hands, and my determination stayed silent, letting him continue. He didn't often talk about the early days of their love. But I could hear the warmth in his voice. "I built her a bench," he said. It was nothing fancy, just a small wooden bench for her garden. But I poured everything into it. Every cut, every polish, every inch of that bench was my way of telling her I loved her. And when I gave it to her, she didn't just see a bench. He saw me. She saw my heart. He exhaled, lost in the memory. She told me that love isn't in the big things. It's in the small things. The everyday things. That's what builds a life. His words settled deep within me. I'd spent so much time thinking about grand gestures, about love as something huge and overwhelming. But my father, men of few words, had spent his whole life showing love in the simplest ways, through his hands, through his work, through unfinished projects that held meaning. Looked at the bookshelf we were finishing. Was more than just wood and nails. Was a legacy, a bridge between generations, a reminder that love is not always spoken. Sometimes it's built as we secured. The final piece held it out of breath and ran his hand over the wood. "Looks good." He murmured. I nodded, feeling a strange sense of fulfillment. It does. But more than that, it felt right. Felt like healing. My father stepped back, studying the bookshelf with quiet satisfaction. His fingers traced the edges, smoothing out imperfections. But there was no rush to correct them. It was as if he had finally made peace with the fact that not everything needed to be perfect to have value. I watched him, realizing how much had changed in just a few days. The man who once carried silent regret now stood lighter, his eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in a long time. Contentment feels good to finish. Something, doesn't it? Said. He nodded, slowly. Yeah, but it's not just about finishing. It's about understanding why it mattered in the first place. He ran his hand along the wood one last time, then turned to me with an expression I couldn't quite read. I should have done this years ago, admitted, but I think I needed to do it with you. Something in my chest tightened. I had gone into this wanting to help him, but in the process, I had gained something too. I had learned more about my father in these few days than in all the years before, not just the man he was now, but the man he had been, the dreamer, the builder, the young man who fell in love with my mother. By carving a simple bench, and then, without warning, he did something unexpected, reached for a small piece of leftover wood, turning it in his hands before passing it to me. Keep this, he said. Someday, when the time is right, build something with it. I stared at the wood, understanding what he meant. This wasn't just a scrap. It was a piece of history, or reminder that love is built, over time, with care, with patience, with hands that never stopped creating a few. Days later, we placed the finished bookshelf in its rightful spot. My father stood beside me, shoulders squared as if a weight had finally lifted. Your grandfather would have been proud, he said softly, smiled. I think he already is. And just like that, the 12-in problem that had haunted him for years was no longer a burden. It was a memory, Allison, and a love story alone our reminder that the things we build, whether they be bookshelves, benches, or bonds, are what truly last.